Former President Donald Trump held a meandering press conference at his Mar-a-Lago resort in Florida yesterday, and climate change activists are praising Vice President Harris's pick for her running mate. Good morning, I'm Corva Coleman from NPR News, and here are today's top stories. Former President Donald Trump held a meandering press conference yesterday at his Florida resort. NPR's Tom Dreisbach reports Trump reiterated his support for rioters charged in the January 6th attack on the U.S. Capitol.
Trump has repeatedly promised to pardon rioters charged for their role in the January 6, 2021 insurrection, including those convicted of assaulting police. Speaking at Mar-a-Lago, he bragged about the size of the crowd that day.
The biggest crowd I've ever spoken. I've spoken to the biggest crowds. Nobody's spoken to crowds bigger than me.
Trump then stated, falsely, that the January 6th crowd was larger than the peaceful civil rights protesters who attended Martin Luther King Jr.'s landmark I Have a Dream speech. On January 6th, around 140 police officers were injured. The FBI calls the attack an act of domestic terrorism. Tom Dreisbach, NPR News.
Climate change activists are praising Vice President Harris's pick for her running mate. NPR's Jeff Brady reports Minnesota Governor Tim Walz signed a climate law last year. It requires all power plants to generate electricity from clean energy by 2040.
In signing the clean energy law, Walz echoed a Biden-Harris administration message on climate change.
Sustainability of the planet and our economic future are no longer divided. They run hand in hand.
Antonio Arellano with the youth voter group Next Gen America says Walz was the first choice for many young people.
Walz administration has also funded clean energy career training to prepare Minnesotans for industries of the future, and has advocated for expanding electric vehicles in the state.
Walz's Republican rival, J.D. Vance, echoed Trump campaign arguments critical of renewable energy and claimed boosting EVs will hurt the U.S. auto industry. Jeff Brady, NPR News.
When Vice President Harris ran for president in 2019, she supported a ban on the oil and gas drilling technique known as fracking. Harris's campaign says she no longer supports such a ban. Delta Airlines is facing a class action lawsuit stemming from last month's global cyber outage that delayed and canceled airline flights worldwide. The lawsuit accuses Delta of refusing to refund passengers, even though that's required by law. From member station WABE in Atlanta, Marlon Hyde reports Delta and the cybersecurity firm CrowdStrike continue to trade blame for who's responsible.
The class action suit was filed on behalf of all Delta customers whose flights were canceled or significantly affected due to the outage. The U.S. Department of Transportation is investigating why Delta took longer than other airlines to get back online. This week, Microsoft joined CrowdStrike in pushing back against Delta, saying the airline's outdated system is to blame for its several thousand canceled flights. Delta declined to comment, citing pending litigation. For NPR News, I'm Marlon Hyde in Atlanta.
The Summer Olympics in Paris introduces a new competition today, breaking, also known as breakdancing. As NPR's Mandali Del Barco reports, its roots are in New York.
Breaking was born in the South Bronx in the 1970s. During hip-hop house parties and street jams, Black and Puerto Rican teens took turns showing off dance moves during breaks in the music. B-boys and B-girls innovated fancy footwork with acrobatics, including spinning on their backs and heads. In the 1980s, the media dubbed it breakdancing, and it showed up in movies, on TV, and even as part of the closing ceremony for the 1984 Olympics. Dancer Ken Swift is a member of the hugely influential Rocksteady crew.
People didn't really understand. They thought it was just, a lot of Black and Latino kids with a lot of energy, but it stood the test of time.
Swift says breaking is more of a global art form than a sport, but he says dancing at the Paris Olympics is another breakthrough. Mandali Del Barco, NPR News.
American sprinter Noah Lyles faltered during the 200-meter final yesterday at the Summer Olympic Games, taking the bronze medal. At the end of the race, Lyles collapsed on the ground. He later confirmed he tested positive for COVID on Tuesday. NPR's Brian Mann has more.
In front of a roaring crowd, Noah Lyles quickly fell behind Letsile Teboho from Botswana and American Kenny Bednarek. The lightning speed Lyles often shows when finishing big races never materialized, and after crossing the finish line and taking bronze, he fell to the ground. U.S. Track and Field confirmed in a statement Lyles tested positive 2 days ago for COVID, but he insisted on racing. Lyles was hoping to pair a 200-meter win with the gold medal in the 100-meter Olympic final that he won on Sunday. It was not to be. The U.S. did did win 3 other gold medals on the night. Cindy McLaughlin-Levrone ran the women's 400-meter hurdle, setting a new world record. Tara Davis-Woodhull won the long jump, and Grant Holloway won gold in the 110-meter hurdle. Brian Mann, NPR News, Paris.
I'm Corva Coleman, NPR News.